Hi, we're Karen and Simon.
We're coaches with over 100 years' experience in being human and currently living in Bristol in the UK.
A coffee chat about emotions and being human and the challenges our coaching clients face led us to this series of videos.
We aim to share our thinking and experiences to help you navigate the mayhem of working life. So, let's get going. Hello, Simon.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Very good. How are things with you?
Yeah, really well, thank you.
Great. So today we're talking about resilience and how to understand our reactions when things are tough. Yeah. So, yeah, over to you. I'd love to hear a bit more about it.
Yeah, exactly that. We're looking at how each of us has got our own unique brand or signature of resilience. And my thoughts, and the reason I've really worked hard on this is because we both support the idea of managing our energy. Our energy is the one thing we can control 99% of the time. The rest of the world, annoying people, things that happen when we just do not need them to happen. We cannot control that. So it's this idea of things are always going to happen. We can't stop that. So forget that. Don't waste your energy trying to control those things. Let's understand ourselves so that when we face an adversity or some kind of stressor, we can just get over it as quickly, as efficiently as we can. And this kind of stems from my own reflections of what we were taught to do in the military. As a pilot, you know that as soon as you take off, something is going to change. Something's going to happen. The plan will change within seconds, and you cannot sit there just kind of ruminating over it or going, "Oh, I'm going to feel sorry for myself for the next couple of hours." You've just got to get over the adversity and adapt. And I started thinking about why I was able to do that, perhaps, and I could see other people around me who've really struggled to do that. So I came up with this idea of understanding yourself. How can we really understand ourselves so that we can imagine a stressful situation and kind of plot how we're feeling, uh, how long we're feeling that particular feeling for, and then once we can kind of work those signatures out, not for everything, but for really big, regular things that happen to us, um, we're forearmed. If we know how we're going to feel even before we feel it, we can then express that emotion, and then we can be more conscious of our behaviors, and we can just let that emotion go. Once we know we're safe, once we know what's going to happen, it's almost like being forewarned of what you're about to feel. And it just gives you a little bit of time back, a little bit of energy back. So why don't I just describe the model that I created, and
Mhm.
then yeah, I need you to jump in and challenge me. How about that?
Okay. Sounds great. Yeah. Can't wait to hear it. Carry on.
Fantastic. So I wanted to challenge this idea of bouncing back. We have this amazing idea, don't we, that resilience is just about bouncing back up again and getting punched in the face and then falling over and bouncing back up again. And that just repeats forever, forever, forever. And I know that's how
Yeah.
some jobs can feel. But there's this idea about resilience is bouncing forward, bouncing sideways, not getting up for a while, taking a breather and working out, why did I get punched in the face? Because that really hurt and I don't want that to happen again. So resilient, you have to be a bit more, you have to be a bit smart with your resilience, understanding your own reactions. And again, it's all about giving you choice. I'm not going to bounce up again because I think I'm going to get punched in the face. So I'm just going to lie down and recover. Give yourself choice and give yourself that energy back. So the first practical part of any kind of self-reflection about feelings and things like that is just to sit down with a blank piece of paper and a pen and just write down all the different emotions that you recognize in yourself. And for me, when I first did this a couple of years ago, I reckon I came up with, oh, maybe 10 if I really, really tried. And they were just the big, anger, happiness, slightly angry, a bit more happy. I was just not very literate about my feelings and my emotions. So again, lots of help out there. We can all give resources to those who want to just be more aware about the full range of possible feelings and emotions and things like that. But can you think of an example that you'd be willing to share? That affects you on a kind of a regular basis.
Mm, I don't know. That's a good question, actually. Maybe so sometimes frustration,
Hmm.
sometimes boredom. If I'm listening to someone, I think, oh, this is really boring.
Sorry.
Feeling no. So y- yeah, I guess some webinars when you're there and it's a small group and you can't escape and you're not finding it very helpful.
Mm,
Um, and I can't
that's
find the words
really,
to excuse myself and may help that not lose face or yeah, without it
yeah,
being embarrassing. So there's a whole range of
yes,
emotions there. There might be a bit of boredom, there might be a bit of frustration, there might be distraction or kind of a bit of energy, wanting to get away or and trying to keep it calm. So maybe a whole range of different things happening at the same time because I want to escape, but I also want to be polite and nice.
absolutely. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. There's a whole range of emotions. Perhaps they happen in a set sequence. So you might start with a bit of annoyance, and then I don't know, a little bit of discomfort or frustration that you really want to just answer that email that's just come in, but you can't move your head because there's only a few of you on the screen. Or yeah, that's a really, really good example. The idea here is now to, with your example, Karen, is to, if you like, build up the scale of uh, your reaction scale, those different little sub emotions and feelings that you had. And you can see here this on my very, very simple chart. This will create the vertical scale. So it starts at the bottom in the green, and it progresses with through however many different sub emotions you can recognize, all the way up to the red, which is like your strongest emotion. And that kind of indicates, how much energy you're putting into experiencing this emotion, which will give an idea, of course, as to how much time and energy you're effectively wasting by not dealing with these emotions efficiently. So there are some examples on this page where in the green I've just registered. So perhaps um, you're on that call you described and you're just beginning to register the fact maybe your phone, someone's trying to get you on WhatsApp and you've been waiting for a delivery to come all day, and the doorbell's just gone. Something is just registering with you, and you can see there I've used examples like I'm beginning to feel a bit flustered, now I'm getting distracted, I'm not listening, I'm annoyed now. This is getting annoying. When is this call going to finish? And then if you reach, I'm feeling really angry about why did I even come on this call? And all the way through to just, I don't know if you could ever reach emotional overwhelm on a call, but just it was there as an example. How does that, does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, yeah. No, in terms of the kind of range of, yeah, what's the process, if you like, or what's going on. When it says place your answers here, what does that column refer to? What's it looking for in there?
So that would be as a workbook. This is where you would give, for your example, you would now just write in those little boxes your version of events, you imagining the scenario that you gave. So, yeah, so your scenario of being on a call, and finding it really frustrating, you can now choose, okay, where does frustration lie? Is frustration the most extreme emotion? Or it might be near the top, or it might be the first one. Frustration might be the first emotion, because although emotions are a universal thing, your feeling of frustration is completely unique and signature to you, for your scenario. So this is just a first go at just plotting out what emotions might build up to frustration, or if frustration is the first emotion that you feel, what emotions come after that, if that makes sense.
So is it kind of like the thoughts and feelings that are going through my mind as different things are happening in maybe the outside world?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And
checking my watch, what time is it? And thinking, oh my gosh, I've got another
yes,
half hour to go. I'm really bored. I
yeah,
need to get off this. What excuse can I think of? Yeah, so all those thoughts where I'm not really paying attention to the meeting. I'm trying to, yeah, think about how to escape.
yeah, absolutely. So that's the vertical scale. So this is so for your example of being on the call, this would be a range of different feelings and emotions, that you recognize, and you can we can obviously plot those out on this vertical scale.
So kind of writing it out helps us to understand what's going on for us, doesn't it? It helps improve our self-awareness.
Absolutely. And it's much like in the previous recordings we've done where we suggest saying it out loud to someone that you trust. Writing it out down for the first time is quite a powerful thing. It might take you a while to refine what it is. Like I mentioned earlier, it might take you a while to refine actually where in my body am I feeling this frustration. But it's just having a go, and just purely just putting something down on paper. Doesn't have to be exact, because the more you do this could be part of a self-reflection exercise. Um, the more you reflect, the more refined you are about yourself. The more you learn, and just over time, you'll get really, really good at it. And then, yeah, we're looking to build out this horizontal scale. So you can see on the screen there, I've used a big alarming yeah, explosion shape, the stressor. Um, and again, it's just a really bold way of saying, right, something has happened. There is a stress, a trigger, an anxiety. Something has happened. Now, how long are you dealing with this for? Because remember, we're all about getting your energy back as efficiently as we can. If something has happened, if you can be honest about how long you spent uh, being stressed, being frustrated. Um, I can give examples of things that were said in meetings that I probably stewed over for days. I don't know, if I'm being really honest, maybe weeks, or if I received feedback, written feedback about my performance over the last 12 months. Perhaps I might even stress over that for months. Perhaps it's years. Who knows? But we need to be honest, and we need to kind of map out uh, how this emotional reaction happens. And then you can, if you're being really, really self reflective, you can pick out maybe areas in which you might just plateau. I don't feel frustrated anymore. I feel a little bit less frustrated, but I definitely feel something. A couple of days later, you might even have another spike of actually, no, the person who said that in the meeting really, really annoyed me, and it's come back. I'm annoyed all over again. It's this fascinating world of the emotions, the feelings, and how we behave. So, again, no shame, forgive yourself, just be as honest as you possibly can. And what we can end up doing if we put those two lines together is we can plot ourselves a little graph. Now, I have to admit, my brain doesn't really like graphs, but if we put the two of them together, we could plot, for example, this. Now, this is an example in the workbook, but bear with me. So this shows quite a rapid, perhaps in the first few minutes, quite a rapid journey through your all the different levels of feelings up to rage. That's quite a big one. And and then perhaps, you stay at rage or you stay at furious for 20 minutes, and then it just gently begins to, um, somehow you get over it and you begin to rationalize things again, but you just end up really tired and exhausted. That was a common one with me. And perhaps you're gonna be exhausted for the rest of the day. Perhaps you never get over that exhaustion until you go to bed at night. But in this example, we stay exhausted for a couple of hours and then we can come back down. We rationalizing more, the emotions, flowing through us. And then we can get back down to that. I'm annoyed with myself. Perhaps you never get to a neutral position. Perhaps you're just annoyed with yourself for perhaps the rest of the day. You might be annoyed with yourself for letting yourself down. You feel, I feel a bit ashamed that I got into that rage in a meeting. Um, just really common evolutions of emotions that can happen to us in our workplace or even in our private lives.
Okay. So I guess for so I'm noticing there are different words in those boxes. So we just through our reflections and writing down the emotions, we can work out what our emotional range is for us, isn't it? And what words kind of resonate well.
Yeah, and
Yeah, is
it's
that
so
right?
it,
So I could
yeah,
write,
a-
I might write frustrated instead of stressed, for example. Yeah, is
absolutely. This is
which is
this is
the
just an
first
example.
exercise.
Yeah, this is just
Okay.
an example in the workbook. And this is unique to, remember, your the scenario, the example that you work with. At the same time as you're going through this emotion, life doesn't stop. So if you imagine this in real life, you're going through this emotional range and back down again, even as you're walking out of the building to go and get some lunch. And but then if something were to happen as you're having lunch, that's a different scenario that potentially that you would react differently. So this whole exercise is all about helping you just to rationalize yourself as a human, to go through that self-reflection, um, to understand that your reaction, your resilience, your ability to take that choice with your energy, um, is just incredibly specific to you, the people that are with you, and the environment that you're in.
Which is why it's my signature because it's the pattern I have when I'm triggered by something. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're not looking to compare this signature to the signature you have when someone beeps you when you're in the car at the roundabout and you stall. Although cars don't stall anymore, do they? It's a bit boring. Or if there's somebody that's a bit, aggressive on the road and it just annoys you or scares you, that's a completely different signature. But um, this is the you on a Zoom call getting frustrated
Oh,
signature.
okay. So every type of scenario or stressful scenario will have its own signature for each person.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of so what, a coach can now work with you to explore how can we lessen these steep curves. So how can we make sure that we have a choice about how far up that scale we go? So, for example, on the scale on the screen, how can we help each other so that we only ever reach furious rather than rage? Or how we can just maybe rationalize the situation. We can get to know our own selves so well that we can get to stressed and stop there. So again, this idea of coaching interventions.
It's really interesting. So people have their own signature, and for each type of stressor, it might be slightly different. And what I'm hearing is, if we can think about and map out the kind of emotion, the range of emotions as we become more stressed, I guess, as we can feel it more. And then talking with a coach can help us to kind of understand it a little bit more about what's where it comes from. And when we understand where it comes from, we're better able to deal with it. Is that, have I understood that correctly?
You've understood that perfectly. Yeah, exactly. We're looking to put distance between us and those automatic emotional reactions to give us choice. And we're looking to rationalize why we're feeling those things, which will lessen those curves, and it'll just give us the energy back. And instead of feeling rotten about a really bad meeting where you were embarrassed for a week, you're only feeling rotten and embarrassed for a few minutes. We don't ever want to dull the emotions because they're so important. They're indicators of so much, rich sources of information. So we never want to just make everybody robots who don't feel anything. But what we want to do is understand them so we can just go, oh, yeah, I'm feeling really frustrated. Next.
Mm. Yeah, thank you. So your coaching really helps people to acknowledge, to recognize the emotions before they become overwhelming, which I can imagine is really, really helpful. And as you say, it gives people energy back so quite quickly, because feeling that going through that emotional roller coaster is really, yeah, exhausting, very draining, and might lead to regrets and yeah, having to make up to people if we get to overwhelm. Brilliant. So, Simon, if somebody is interested in exploring their resilience signature, how can they get in contact with you?
So Simon at simonshaw-coaching.com. Yeah, there's so many resources that's out there, and yeah, we can steer people towards those resources, or even coach them through it. And how about you,
Yeah,
Karen? How can people get in touch with you?
through Karen at aspirecc.co.uk. I'm also on LinkedIn. And I have a website, Aspire Coaching and Consulting.co.uk. Thank you.
Fantastic. No worries. Thank you for listening and not getting bored.
Not being triggered. Thank you. No, that was fascinating. It was great. Thank you very much, Simon. See you next
No
time.
worries. See ya. Bye bye.